Welcome back, everyone. It's time for Throwback Thursday. Time for a quick commercial.
That's right, Ellie. This episode is brought to you by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. And they'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere. Places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. To get started, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm today. Welcome to the Lessons for Success podcast. I'm your host, Adam Wardlaw, middle school science teacher and high school football coach in South Carolina, USA. Thank you for tuning into the podcast heard by nearly 3,000 people across 17 countries, as well as almost every state here in America. These episodes are intended to be short and beneficial lessons to help you get more out of your life. You can keep up with the show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and even TikTok by searching at L4S Show. And remember, that's the number 4. If you're listening on an iPhone, go ahead and give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help keep our growing community going. Now let's start the show. Every year during this week, March 17th to be specific, the United States turns a shade of green in celebration of St. Patrick's Day. Although the holiday has its Irish roots, many of the customs you're used to seeing related to this holiday originated in America. In this episode, we'll look at the origins of the holiday and why we see some of the different traditions related to St. Patrick's Day. It's time for Throwback Thursday here on the Lessons for Success podcast. The goal of these episodes is to look back in the history books and examine some major moments in our past. March 17th marks St. Patrick's Day, and the first thought that comes to mind for many of us is leprechauns and pots of gold, or the older crowd may envision celebrations in pubs across the country. St. Patrick's Day is held on March 17th in honor of the traditional death date of St. Patrick, who was the foremost saint of Ireland. The day commemorates Christianity's spread into Ireland, and the celebrations generally involve public parades and festivals. St. Patrick's Day is actually celebrated in more countries than any other national festival. There are, however, some traditions of St. Patrick's Day that originate here in America, such as the color green. When the holiday was initially celebrated in Ireland, the color blue was often used. The party-like celebrations are also more of an American twist. In Ireland, the holiday is often celebrated with feast rather than alcoholic beverages. In fact, the tradition of eating corned beef and cabbage was an American innovation. A large influx in the celebration of St. Patrick's Day came after Irish immigrants came to America in large numbers. They clung to their heritage by continuing to celebrate the holiday even while in a new country. As this culture blended more into the fabric of America, so did the holiday. In fact, now some of the American twists to the holiday are utilized in Ireland as well. So what lessons can we draw from St. Patrick's Day and its history? I think one thing to note would be the blending of cultures. An Irish holiday, given an American twist, is now enjoyed by people worldwide. I think it speaks to the power of learning from other cultures. When you're accepting of new and different perspectives, you may benefit from these different trains of thoughts or values. The millions who celebrate the holiday every year certainly enjoy the festivities of the holiday that made its way across the globe in the last few hundred years. So as you go about your day, be sure you aren't closing your ears to the thoughts and opinions of others. You never know what you may gain from them by simply listening to their perspective. That's all the time I have on today's episode. How did you celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Let me know by reaching out to the show in the comments below or on any of our social media channels. I'll talk to you guys next time on the next episode of the Lessons for Success podcast. Take care. Well, folks, that's it for another edition of the Lessons for Success podcast. Thank you for listening. Remember that you can keep up with the show wherever podcasts are found, as well as the newly updated Lessons for Success YouTube channel. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok to keep up with more content from the show. If you haven't already done so, give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. That's all the time I have for today. Be sure to tune in for the next episode of the Lessons for Success show.